to the Fix Sports Podcast, which is the realest, blackest, and funniest sports podcast you have ever heard in your entire life. I'm coming straight from the side, going down. Audio shop talk going right into your ear hole, brought to you by yours truly, Joseph Ward, aka your mother's boyfriend, that dude that be in the kitchen butt naked cooking breakfast. When you come out in the morning and you see that dude be in the kitchen, you be like, that dude in the kitchen. Yeah, because I just got through drilling your mother last night. That's me, Joseph Ward, bringing this audio shop talk. You know, talking about the way we talk about sports, but we put some sense to it from a black perspective, a comedic perspective, and a realistic perspective on everything sports. No sports is off limits, and no topics is off limits. Why? Because shit, we own this shit. We ain't got no restrictions, B. Ain't got nobody telling us what we can and can't talk about, B. But if this your first time tuning in to the Fix Sports Podcast, welcome, welcome, welcome. Like I said, I am Joseph Ward, the multi-talented man in the land that's bringing it to you from here to Pakistan. You heard me? Hey, man, this is episode 17 of the Fix Sports Podcast. I want to give a shout-out again to my homie Bruce Fennell for coming through last week, being my guest on the Fix Sports Podcast. Remember to check out episode 16, Season 5, Episode 16, Part 2, as I interview Bruce Fennell. But also check out Part 1, where I go in. I feel like the full show was a rant talking about this crazy stuff that's going on in the nation, because we out here fighting the power. One time for these protests. Give them hell, give them hell, give them hell. Just need to make sure we got the right direction with these protests. You heard me? Hey, man, all my community workers, I want to give a shout out to everybody in the community that been in the community, that is in the community, that's putting in work. Shout out to you all. You are not overlooked here at the Fix Sports Podcast, here on the Freedom Train Network, because we know what it is. Why? Because we grassroots workers ourselves. So we know it ain't all about the stuff that's on TV. The real work usually be happening off camera. So shout out to everybody who out there putting in work in their communities on a regular basis. You are definitely appreciated. Man, it's been some things happening in the wide world of sports. We are slowly going to return back to sports. But in the midst of that, we still have these protests going on. The Black Lives Matter protests. I hope it's still about Black Lives Matter. But police are still killing innocent black men. I had a young man who was found hanging from a tree in California. Police killed the black man in Atlanta the other day. The projects got shot up here in Tallahassee. There's a lot of stuff still going on. But I'm still holding motherfuckers to the fight. Racism is something that's very adaptable. You gotta understand that. The system of racism is very adaptable. So I hear all these corporations saying the right things and throwing money around. But I'm saying, if you're not working to end the system of white supremacy, if everything you're doing, if you claim to be against it, but everything you're doing is not working to end the system of white supremacy and racism, you're full of shit. And all you're doing is working to adapt. Because right now, the way I see it is, racism is about to go covert again. It's about to go back underground. And shit gonna be happening, but it ain't gonna be as blatant. So, that's just me. Hey, man, so remember, the Fix Sports Podcast is brought to you by On the Shoulders of Giants. And On the Shoulders of Giants brings you African history at your fingertips and on the go. The stories of the sung and unsung heroes of the African diaspora. People who we may learn about some of the times, or people who we may not learn about at all. On the Shoulders of Giants, go find these stories and put these stories in one place. And it's separated by continent: North America, Central America, South America, Oceania, Africa, Europe. All these different places we find historical and contemporary heroes of the African diaspora who have created their platforms and structured their lives around the upliftment, empowerment, and freeing their people from the throes of white supremacy. And that's what On the Shoulders of Giants does. Brings these stories of the real superheroes of the world, the real superheroes of the African diaspora. Website is www.ontheshoulders1.com. And they bring these stories through the On the Shoulders of Giants book series, the On the Shoulders of Giants blog, the On the Shoulders of Giants African History Curriculum app, which is available on the website at www.ontheshoulders1.com. The On the Shoulders of Giants online course, which is available on Patreon at patreon.com/OTSOG. The On the Shoulders of Giants nonprofit organization. And of course, COVID is going on now, but you can still book On the Shoulders of Giants, On the Shoulders of Giants for educational sessions. The information is available on smart boards, smart TVs, smartphones, computers, laptops, tablets, wherever you can receive your information, whether it's digital, face-to-face. All you got to do is visit www.ontheshoulders1.com, where we got all the information you need. Say they got all the information you need. African history at your fingertips. Bounce, wow, wow. Really going down inside. All right, man. So we got some topics and some things we're gonna get into today. I don't have an HBCU spotlight, but I'm gonna play my music anyway. You heard me? But I do got some HBCU news to talk about. So there's a basketball player named Trace Young who picks Alabama State over 6 HBCUs. And I believe this is the young man. He transferred from Wyoming to come to Alabama State. So talk about that. Alcorn State and football. Alcorn State lands Vanderbilt wide receiver C.J. Bolar. And Bolar is a baller too. So he's transferred to Alcorn State. And then there's a conversation around a 15-year-old basketball player named Mikey Williams who expressed interest in going and possibly going to HBCU when it's time for him to go to college. And so that sparked a lot of, well, not a lot, but that sparked some debate within the black community and other communities about black players going to black colleges, and some ignorant people think that's racist. I don't know. It's not racist for white people to recruit white players to go to white college to help build up white colleges. That's not racist. But what is racist is black schools recruiting black players to help build up black colleges. Somehow that's racist. I don't know. All right, so in sad news, one of my favorite football players, wide receivers, growing up watching up, is Ray Ciccarelli. He was unfortunately murdered this past week in Tampa. So we're gonna give him his respect and his flowers and his moment of silence. Fat fuck face Jason Whitlock is no longer with Fox Sports, and we're gonna celebrate like a motherfucker. Hopefully he don't show up nowhere else, but I know he will. So the Hornets, Knights, and Panthers all joined up to end ties with CPI Security over racist remarks by the CEO of CPI Security. Oh shit. DeAndre Hopkins, Deshaun Watkins, and other former Clemson players, they team up to support the removal of John Calhoun's name at Clemson, and it has to have some racist history into that. And speaking of Clemson, that coach Dabo Swinney is in hot water for defending a coach who used the word nigger. And I'm going to give you the whole context and everything when we get to the story. The coach shouldn't have said it. And Dabo doing his best to tap dance around these things. And I'm going to call out Dabo because Dabo support white supremacy. Let's just face it. And a lot of times people like to say that people who support white supremacy or do some white supremacy shit ain't racist. Fuck that. Right? Fuck that. And so, my weekly rant is going at former NASCAR truck driver Ray Ciccarelli, non-winning ass, for quitting, for retiring or quitting from NASCAR because NASCAR decided not to fly the Confederate flag anymore. So puss ass Ray Ciccarelli decided he don't want to be part of NASCAR no more. I'm gonna give y'all some of his weak ass stats that he got too. So, I mean, these are some of the things that we are going to cover in today's episode. Remember, for Season 5, Episode 17, the Fix Sports Podcast, brought to you right here on the Freedom Train Network, which is www.freedomtrainradio.com, man. So, if all hearts and minds are clear, man, let's go do this thing. Get that HBCU music, that why. Ah! Chicka bow wow. Tell me how you like it. Tell me how you like it. Feel me? Come quick, see. Feel me? Feel me? Ooh. Signal the plane. Signal the plane. Signal the plane. Signal the plane. And we're doing a little something like this. I don't have a HBCU spotlight per se, but I got some HBCU news, and I just want to play my music. So I play my music. So, HBCU news. Trace Young picks Alabama State over 6 HBCUs. So, Tuesday was a big day for Alabama State basketball. Hours after announcing former NBA All-Star Mo Williams, who played with LeBron James in Cleveland, as its basketball coach, ASU picked up a big piece for its new coach. Trace Young, a former Wyoming player and 3-star recruit, announced he will be transferring to ASU on Fox Sports Radio Wednesday night. Yay, yay! So the 6'9" forward from Kentucky turned heads in April when he announced he was focusing his prospects on HBCUs only. Last week he named 3 from the MEAC, North Carolina A&T, Howard, and Norfolk State, along with Mississippi Valley State, Prairie View, and Jackson State. Alabama State wasn't on his list at the time, but apparently it crept up on the top. ASU went 8-24 last season and hasn't won more than 9 games since 2016. That shit might change if Trace Young is actually good. So, Young averaged 6.8 points and 3.4 rebounds per game in his long season there before transferring. He spent last season at John A. Logan College in Illinois. Okay. So I hope you ball out, bro. I hope you ball out, Trace Young. I hope you go to Arizona State and ball out. But also, constructing here in this HBCU news segment is I'm using my powers to create momentum, to create conversation, idea, and momentum around black players playing ball at black schools. Let's say it. Black players playing ball at black schools. Say it with me now. I said black players playing ball at black schools. Hey, they may not play where you want them, but they'll play it right on time. I said easy and on time player at a black school. So hope that's my goal, to continue to put in the minds of people, continue furthering the conversation about and having conversations spur to action where top black high school recruits are actually playing ball at HBCUs and increasing the revenue and increasing the profile and everything with the HBCUs. Because I got into a conversation with a young lady earlier this week about the black players going to HBCUs, and my argument was, well, her thing was, we need money to bring these recruits to the school. And my question was, where the money coming from? And her argument was, well, if HBCUs handled the money better, it would be more money for the people to have. And I get the argument. But proper money management still would not be able to bridge the gap between HBCUs and PWIs as far as when it talks about money. A PWI can pay a player $100,000 under the table because they have it. A PWI has the top facilities because they have the money, and that money comes from the players. So remember, these PWIs had to build somewhere, and the build-up was these players. These players brought in this money. So same with HBCUs. First couple class of HBCU players going to have to sacrifice top-ranked, top-notch facilities. They're going to have to sacrifice it. Come to the HBCUs, ball out, win, have the cameras follow you, have more dollars follow you. That's going to build it up for the next class and the next class and the next class and the next class. It's a process. But the HBCUs now, at this point, even if they manage their money correctly, do not have the funds to increase facilities before they bring the players there. And even they can increase facilities all they want. They're not going to bring the players there because one of the main things that bring the players to the school is the ability to go pro. So HBCU, top college prospect, top high school prospects come out of high school, go to HBCUs, ball out, win, go pro, money. That's how it go. So I'm for it. So Trace Young, I see you. So in football, Alcorn State gets former Vanderbilt wide receiver C.J. Bolar. So Alcorn State's high-powered offenses has landed a commitment from a big-time talent. I ain't gonna say Vanderbilt big-time talent, but C.J. Bolar is. So after 2 seasons with the Vanderbilt Commodores, wide receiver C.J. Bolar announced on June 5th that he has decided to finish the remainder of his collegiate career with the Alcorn State Braves. And this is a tweet from or Instagram post from Bolar. I'm thankful for the amazing people I met at Vanderbilt University, from my teammates to the coaches to the lifelong friends I made on campus. I cannot express how much I am grateful for them. I've decided to spend the remainder of my collegiate career at Alcorn State University. I am excited for what the future holds, and I cannot wait to be a part of this legendary program. Yay, yay! Okay, in addition, the addition of the 6'1", 190-pound Bolar is huge for the Braves' already dominant offense. The Braves lost wide receivers Chris Blair and Ray Anderson to graduation, so Bolar is slated to come in and make an immediate impact. Bolar is a bowler. As a senior at Purvis High School in Purvis, Mississippi, Bolar had 45 receptions, 896 yards, and 11 touchdowns. As a freshman at Vanderbilt, Bolar racked up 34 receptions for 440 yards and 2 touchdowns. Though plagued with injuries in his sophomore season, Bolar returned to his home state of Mississippi to look to shake up the swag. The commitment from Bolar is especially lethal to pairing with with regaining swag. Okay, I fucked that up. All right. So the commitment from Bolar is especially lethal to the pairing with the reigning SWAC Offensive Player of the Year, Felix Harper. Harper led the Alcorn offense by throwing for 2,954 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 6 rushing touchdowns. The Braves hope their new dynamic duo has them headed for another Celebration Bowl appearance. Alcorn State kicks off its season on September 5th against the Auburn Tigers. So that's what's happening with that. That's HBCU news on Alcorn State. And so, like I said, that leads us to a lot of the conversation that's been had last year around Mikey Williams, the 15-year-old basketball standout who has stated that he plans on attending the HBCU, or he's thinking about attending the HBCU. And once again, furthering that conversation of top black high school recruits going to HBCUs. So Mikey Williams is one of the nation's best 15-year-old basketball players. Sent shockwaves through the sports world when he tweeted that he might go to an HBCU. So they say a researcher named Jamie Harris, who studies student athletes, elaborates on why Williams' potential decision is generating so much interest. And so these are his points on why this decision is generating interest. So the first one is, what's the big deal? There's a lot of money at stake. Before he became an NBA star, Zion Williamson was worth an estimated $5 million per year for Duke University. That figure is based on media exposure, marketing deals, and ticket sales. Williamson is not unique. Many a college sports star have made a lot of money for their college. Convincing a talented high school player to commit to a particular school is one of the most critical aspects of recruitment. A star player can help a school generate lots of revenue and expand their sports program. This is why I believe that college sports programs are more like businesses than part of a school, which is true. HBCUs are historically underfunded. For that reason, HBCUs can recruit as competitively as some of their Division I peers without the funds to build, or they can't recruit as competitively as their D1 peers. Without the funds to build programs and modern facilities capable to showcase star players in their quest to go pro, HBCUs are unlikely landing spots for their country's most talented student athletes, right? So when HBCUs can't attract the best young players, they miss out on the larger shares of HBCU revenue they could get from televised games, March Madness tournament participation, and apparel and ticket sales. And HBCU has never won an NCAA national championship in football or men's basketball. Well, FAMU did win. FAMU has won, but they didn't really count it, right? But you know. Instead, HBCUs compete in their own championship tournaments for the semi-segregated Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference and Southwestern Athletic Conference. One player may not change the entire system, but one player can make a big difference for an individual school. The second point is there anything special about this timing? So the convergence of increased discontent regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, news coverage of videos that show the killing of George Floyd and many others at the hand of police, and the persistence of racist rhetoric has created a perfect storm to re-envision which college a young black student should choose. College men's basketball teams are made up of 56% black players. Student athletes, not only about half of those athletes graduate from college after 6 years. In some cases, that number is well below 50%. Less than 2% will be drafted into professional athletics. To professional leagues. I'm just fucking making up words as I read. These are black kids who are grappling in real time with their own racial identities, their place in social hierarchy, and the system disadvantages of race in the U.S. As the NCAA tries to maintain institutional status quo where student athletes are prevented from being paid for sports participation while players advocate for their right to generate their own revenue, black student athletes like Williams are recognizing their role in the financial health of the schools for which they choose to play. As Williams stated on Instagram, we are the reason that these schools have such big names and such good history. But in the end, what do we get out of it? Nothing. Committing to play for an HBCU isn't just a neutral short-term decision in this case. The potential for change instigated as a result of a top player rejecting a predominantly white school in favor of HBCU is particularly significant, specifically in 2020 as black colleges struggle to stay afloat, but also more possible than ever. So, his third point is, can just one player shake things up? In the short term, probably not. However, Williams has the potential to influence other players in the future, and that may be more important. Colleges and universities depend heavily on revenue for men's basketball and football games to maintain stable operating budgets across the entire institution. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed how precarious the financial relationship is between sports and Division I programs. Fortifying 2020 revenue means these schools will have even thinner margins and reduced budgets in the years immediately after the pandemic. So, black players are needed. Black players need to make sure that, black schools are needed and black players are needed. We cannot continue to talk about building black America and we continue to send our top talent to white schools, whether it's athletically or academically. This top talent should be used to build up our communities and our schools. We understand the idea of white schools are better, but white schools aren't better. They just have access to more resources. And those resources allow them to be able to grab that top black talent and bring them to HBCU and bring them to PWI. So all I'm continuing to do is use my platform to push black players, top black recruits going to black schools. And that's what should be happening. So Trace Young, Mikey Williams, and CJ Bolar.